first thing, I would like to start by welcoming two amazing individuals in my books. Amongst you guys and them, they're already winners. As an entrepreneur, to reach to this point of going on the journey of an entrepreneur, starting out, come to the point where you need to raise funds, and especially like Santosh, if you've raised funds, you've done something right. Then you have a stellar investor to my left, Rasik, Thakker. When you've got the attention of Rasik, Thakker, you've actually ticked some amazing boxes. So further ado, I'm going to start with Rasik. If you can please short and briefly introduce yourself, then we'll come to Santosh.
So my name is Rasik Thakker. I'm from India and I live in UAE for last 44 years. So it has been a long time, long satisfying journey. For over the last 3 years, with the thought of diversifying my traditional work that I have been doing, mainly trading, that we as family decided to diversify activities, and we started looking for opportunities to invest whatever little savings that we have done over the years. And there came along Tablon, Farooq. 22 months back, he held the first event, and I have been involved and attending with Tablon from day one, from the very first event. Out of the 21 events or 22 events, I have missed only one, and rest of them were all attended by me personally. In the course of these 2 years, I have made few investments. Couple of them have also gone wrong, which is fine, which is part of the whole game. One of the successful investments that I have done is with my friend here, and that's how we are here, to face each other. Yes. Maybe throw some mud and throw some ice as well. So let's see.
We are actually going to deep dive. Going to dive into the questions, and I am going to reveal the whole partnership, how it's going, the nightmares, if they've had any, 5 rounds of punching bags anywhere. We'll get to that. Santosh, is now to you.
Thank you very much, Dil. Thank you, Tablon, for organizing this event. Hello, everyone. My name is Santosh. I'm a serial entrepreneur who's always trying to build things. I had a successful exit in my first venture. I got lucky, I say. The second time I got very unlucky because we had pandemic. So this is my third stint. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Binary Media. We operate the largest network of connected screens in the United Arab Emirates. In principle, it's a passenger operating system that's positioning itself for future mobility. Mobility, as we know, is going to change. We will soon not be driving anymore. And a new economy will emerge, which is referred to as the passenger economy. That economy is positioned to be worth $7 trillion, more than the economy of Germany, for instance. So we want to be on the forefront of that economy and sort of build an experience for passengers that they have never experienced before.
So this is not your first race. It's not the first investor you've worked with, or is this the first investor?
No, I've worked with several investors.
Very
I've
nice.
also exited to some investors.
Okay. That comes to my conclusion of one really important question. What did you take away from these to pitch to Rasik?
I think first and foremost, for founders, the most important thing for you to have is passion in what you're doing. You should really love what you're doing. And you should be a great storyteller. And I think I told a great story to Mr. Thakker, which he believed. But if you have that passion, it should also come very naturally to you. And this is there in every part of my startup journey so far. That fundamental belief that you're going to build something big, first in yourself, has to be built with conviction that nobody can deny. And then you sort of like take it to a contagious way to investors, that they look at it and they say, maybe this guy can. You should also have an excellent team. I'm very fortunate that I'm joined by two very experienced co-founders in this particular mission. But I've always had great co-founders who I've worked with over my tenure. But this time I'm joined by Amit Raj, a media veteran for over 2.5 decades, but also Jason Fairchild. He's a co-founder in our company. His last company, I think, was valued over $700 million. So you want to bring in the best of the people who are better than you. Even investors, I actually feel, are part of your company, so you want to surround them. And the only way you can do this, bring that kind of people in, is to tell a great story.
Rasik, is that true? Only the stories that you invested in?
Story which can then be realized. That is the basic point. So yes, he did tell me a story, but I believe that in that story, that this is a story which can be actually implemented, and it has been implemented to some extent, and it is still being implemented to make it larger.
What are some of the characteristics that you've seen that Santosh really has? I know Santosh has got experience and he's done this before. Regardless, it's been a learning, but there's something that you look for. What is it that is really stood out?
There are more than one reasons that an investor, or at least me as an investor, that looks for in a founder. Is the first and foremost for me is the person behind the story, and that is what I try to judge, the person and the story, and that was ticked in case of Santosh. And so I decided in my mind that if the feasibility and other points are correct in the project, then I could go in for it, and that is how it resulted into the investment. There are also other reasons, of course, for any commercial project: the feasibility, the return on investment, the longevity of the project itself, the project that is on hand. In this case is a contract with RTA, the Road Transport Authority here, which is in itself, it's an asset to have a contract in hand, which, if proper investment and proper implementation is done, can grow into something very, very large, and that attracted me. So Santosh had a contract already on hand with RTA for implementing this project in 4,500 taxis around Dubai, which could grow to 10,000 taxis and even beyond. So we started implementing it by installing in the first lot 1,200 taxis with my investment, which has now reached to 1,800 taxis. You will see that those screens on the back seat at some of the taxis you might travel in. Yes. Sometimes, which gives you some content of entertainment for children or for adults, and it gives you a lot of information also. We are now expanding that content into directly paying your fare through that screen, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to add more and more features into the software. Santosh can talk more about that. So these are the points that attracted me, and that's how I went for it.
Can I ask, how much did you invest?
How did I?
How much did you invest?
Yes, I invested $500,000.
Is that your full take? Is that only full request for that?
Yes. So we actually closed more than what we were looking for.
So you've got your co-founder. Obviously, he's got history. Amit, we know, he's amazing, absolute powerhouse. Besides money, what is it that really ticked for Rasik, and what do you really look for?
I remember, I think the first time that I met with Mr. Thakker, I was just in awe with regards to his level of acumen with regards to this region. I had just come from the Valley into the Dubai ecosystem, completely different ecosystem in comparison to Silicon Valley. And we wanted to work with someone that understands the region. And I'm always sort of like also very keen on understanding more about the background of our investors, and even early days from our pre-seed stage to seed stage. What inspired me was his journey in life, I think. he had done so much work already with formidable partners, and this was an ecosystem play that we were establishing. To establish this with government entities, we wanted to sort of like lean on his experience and expertise. As Mr. Thakker mentioned, it is an honor to be working with the RTA, which I believe has a product in mobility which comes, I think, second to none. I've traveled well all over the world. I think the taxi service that they provide here is incomparable, in my opinion, to even cities like New York, San Francisco. But to work with an entity so respected, we also really had to understand what sort of like ticks them, what is their vision, and to understand governments. I felt that having somebody who has done that before would be a great sort of like ammunition to have. And I think Mr. Thakker's story there was very inspiring. But in general, as founders, we are also very focused on our product. And sometimes we might miss the foundational things of the business, which a veteran like him, which he has built so many businesses, puts in practices which have worked for him for all that tenure of his. And I think that's really helping us as well on how we do our financial reporting, how we are organized as an entity overall. So there is far more that we get than that $500,000 from our investment with Mr. Thakker.
You know what? That is an amazing take. Some of the points Santosh actually raised. As a founder, you're not really an entrepreneur. We like to think so. You have to wear 110 hats. And if you want to give 100% in 110, then you can take it from me now, you've already failed. So you need the right partners, you need the right expertise, and having a founder who can give you that leverage and the support to go from A to B where you're sure, so you can concentrate on your product. So Santosh, yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. How long did this take from initial conversation to actually getting the raise?
So I think in my third meeting, we were on a negotiation. Wow. And I think we shook hands on a valuation.
Time.
Yeah, I think it was between maybe 3 weeks of time. What took time really was due diligence. So Mr. Thakker was very thorough in.
3 weeks is amazing.
Yeah, so we had a deal on the table. We had a term sheet.
Subject to due diligence.
Subject to due diligence. Yeah. But the due diligence was quite extensive. In my opinion, even maybe a little too far-fetched.
Which actually grows
for a seed round.
Which gives you insight and foresight as to what you should be doing. That due diligence is very, very important. So that's another investment.
It's actually the foundation as well. Like it prepares you for future rounds. And we had worked with a very respected sort of like firm who took over the due diligence part. And I think—
In fact, the partners, Priyesh Kapadia, he did the due diligence.
So, and I didn't know them. I only knew the big four and I had worked with them. So it was a very different contrasting style of due diligence, more financial due diligence than tech due diligence, for instance. We are a technology product, we are an operating system. But I think it was an exercise where I learned how this region will react to a product, how it will react to valuations. And I think that prepares you for future funding rounds, absolutely.
Where are we now? How far have you come? Not with only the funding, with the guidance of everybody. How have you met your expectations? Is it ticking? Is it beyond what it is? Where are we?
In our opinion, we are beyond our expectations.
So when is the next phase?
Our expectation was that, yeah, we'll put some screens in cars in Dubai. From there, the leadership at the RTA has pushed the product to levels that we'd never imagined. And I think this is something that I would also tell founders in general, that you will have a vision when you go in, that, hey, I want to build this particular product, but it'll keep changing. And those pivots will actually refine the product into what it truly can be. And we are very fortunate that we are working with the RTA and Hala, who inspire us to think more in terms of what the product can do and what its impact could be. So what started as an entertainment screen has transformed into a passenger operating system. We are talking to governments in the region to bring this service to different countries. We are talking to the largest mobility operators who have invited us to parts of Europe, North America. And I didn't expect this. Last week, I was in a meeting with a OEM as well, a Korean manufacturer of cars, who are looking at binary media to provide a product for autonomous vehicles, which was the long-term vision that, hey, cars tomorrow are going to become autonomous, so everyone's going to become a passenger. But today I really wanted to understand, there are so many passengers today. Let's understand what they engage with, what they click, what would make their day, what would make their time. But I think all this happening so quickly in about 6-7 months has been really phenomenal. Even from, as just a founder, my approach has always been towards have a lot of work done to build the right investor network, but I think we really strive towards building a cash flow business as well. So on that particular front as well, our sales engine really kicked in. Every major brand that you can think of, from Coca-Cola to HSBC to Unilever brands, advertises with us. We deliver metrics which are far superior to Meta and Google kind of networks. We have partnered with, entities like Kareem, Google, Disney. Now we are in talks with some very large sort of media houses that want to build this into a channel for themselves. So beyond expectations, and I think if you use Dubai right, it can become a launchpad for you for future markets. And our vision is that we want to build a company starting from the UAE that can have a global impact.
You know what, this is surprising because I was actually in a cab the other day and I did say binary. I was considering how do I get hold of these guys and now you're here. Thank you very much. When is the next raise?
We are always raising, and we are generally raising when we don't need the money. We sit on a runway of 18 to 24 months at any given point in time. We raise to scale the network. Cash flow sort of like takes care of our operating expenditures, whereas raise takes care of our expansion as such. We're doing our pre-Series A right now, raising another $1 million. And in essence, I only try and raise how much I need. We could raise a larger round, but that's what I really need to reach very specific milestones that would position us towards our Series A.
Rasik, is there anything that you've had in your mind regards to Santosh and binary that you've not spoken about, that you'd like to go a certain way?
I like the uniqueness of the product, the project, and that was also one of the reasons that attracted me to the project itself, because it was non-existent here. And there I saw that if one has this contract, who has already been in touch with the government and got the contract, that means that the government also sees a future in this. And that is what also attracted me. And we are here to expand.
Especially getting through the doors of RTI and the Dubai government. It's not
easy.
You need to know the right people.
It was not easy.
It's not easy.
And I say that I think with no pinch of salt, persistence is extremely important for founders. There were times that we were like, hey, is this even going to happen? But they are very meticulous with regards to sort of doing their due diligence on their part.
That's really good.
This is the window. A taxi service, just look at it, right? Like 20 million visitors come to Dubai every year. The way they are experiencing the city is most probably through a taxi. So they want to do it right. And they have adopted a technology which, in our opinion, is far, far more advanced than anything that you have seen. They've done it already with the airlines. Emirates ICE is known as maybe the best infotainment platform that is there in any airline.
By far.
Hands down. And now they are trying to do it all over again. They want to position Dubai as the most advanced city in mobility media. And we are sort of working hard to make that happen. And everything that sort of like falls from there also has ripple effects. I think Dubai as a light tower city is like, really shining strong. And I think that starts with the government. And I've seen governments work, but this government works like a startup. They want new, fresh, innovative ideas.
They don't take answers, no for an answer.
They don't take no for an answer.
They're always forward.
We
And
have
they get the
very
result
tight
they
timelines to work with.
Always, yesterday.
But yeah, we are building features that are like even beyond our sort of like thoughts and expectations.
You said something about
I will give you an example of how keen and how interested and involved the government officials are, especially in this particular project. We were at the RTA office launching the product, and I saw the chief of RTA telling Santosh, I'm going to call a taxi in which screen has already been fixed. Come, let's ride on it. And you show me what all it contains. And during the ride, he gave more suggestions. This can be included, that can. So that shows the keenness and the interest that the government wants to get involved.
That's actually absolutely true. I was in Executive Towers the other day, early morning, and to my surprise, there was a Mercedes parked there with the number 1 plate. And you know who that is, right? Then somebody told me, he usually takes a stroll around the business areas. Then I read another article that he's just taking a walk through Silicon Oasis Mall Lulu. This is it. It's done firsthand. They walk the walk, talk the talk. So to be involved with RTA, the story is endless.
It's an honor.
I can't see Emirates Airlines going down, especially not in my lifetime. Neither do I see RTA. So,
And it's an advanced concept. You're introducing actually a new concept, a new operating system for a government to say, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
We have a lot of founders in here. One of the things that you said is like consistency, resilience. Give me 3 points that you really think, as a founder in this room, that you would want to tell them that, look, do this, believe in this, and this is the way. I know there's no exactly checklist.
I think founders here are maybe more experienced than me. I can only give my take in terms of what I believe in. I think I have 3 P's in life. I want to have persistence. I want to be passionate about what I'm building. And I want to have a perspective with regards to how I see this really shaping the world. The product that you're building, I think it should have a very large impact. I think that there are only 2 business models that exist in the world. One that can somehow save you time, or one that can make you money. I can only understand these 2 business models. Maybe I'm limited in my thinking. As long as you're trying to solve one of these 2 things, you're trying to make that time of people better, or you're making time for people overall, which I think is our business. We are turning that idle time into an experience, an experiential time. People used to do nothing in a taxi, sitting in a cab ride. We're sort of trying to capitalize on that. Or if you can figure out a way that people can make more money, I think your business will succeed. But do it with patience, passion, and a perspective.
You know what? This is magic, because attention is key. And you guys got them in a time when they're in 4 walls at the back, and the distance from to you on the screen is so there. Yes. So it's unbelievable. Rasik, what would you advise to us, another founders in the end?
Good you asked me, because I was going to intervene and tell you that give me a chance to address the founders and tell them one important aspect which I find is missing in many founders investor relations that I have seen, not only with me but my co-investors or other investors that I know of. You see, the real relationship of an investor and a founder begins not with the investment itself, but post that. Once the money has come in, then it is very, very essential for the founder to keep the investor involved in the project. Not only give him a monthly financial report, but also keep telling him, keep informing him of all the developments of the project. Generally, what I have seen is that in order to raise money, you go to an investor, you tell them a story. Maybe sometimes the figures shown are inflated in order to impress the investor. And let us say the investor gives in and gives that money. But then when the implementation comes and maybe the project is not performing as it was projected to the investor, and then the founder shies away, either because he has given a wrong story, or maybe he has made wrong calculations, or his ego is stopping him from going and admitting his mistakes in front of the investor. But none of this is going to work in long run. It is better to take the investor in confidence after the investment is made, consistently, constantly, and keep him informed, take his advice, take his help wherever he can, if he can, and that would really help in achieving whatever goals that the founder has set forth. So that is the message.
I think it's an amazing piece of advice. If you shy away, you're just cheating yourself. Farouk, through Tablon, and I attend a lot of networking events, and I've seen that to be a shortfall. The more informed and involved your investor is, your problem just gets halved, because there's two of you in this now. So you should really share it. What are we looking to invest in now? And I know I'm not going to say how much money, but what would you fork out?
Anything which makes sense to my mind.
Anything
and my
that
heart.
makes money, typical investor thing.
And if my pocket allows it, and as long as it is ethical business, morally right business, then I might go in for it. However, being an individual investor, I have my own limits. My finances are whatever savings that I have done over the year. So if it is within my limits, then yes.
Could I actually frame it to say your worst experience and your best experience?
Say it again.
Your worst experience
Yeah.
in the investment that you did,
Yeah.
or the worst pitch that you've heard?
I have made approximately 10 investments in the last 2.5 years. 2 have gone wrong, and I've lost money totally. One investment was for $50,000. Another investment was for $100,000. Those both companies have dished me. I was a fool not to have understood the project well, but the rest 8 of them are on the path of success.
You know, I'm not an investor, I've never invested, but to hear that ratio, it's amazing, because you know the startup ratio is like 80 to 20, maybe more. There's about 80% failure. So I think on that note, you've done pretty well, and I'm sure the 8 that you've done has been far more.
Well, even if one turns unicorn, that's it.
We're sitting with Santosh, and
We will be.
I think.
Another company, in fact, my sister Naila is sitting here. She produced a movie, directed, first female director, and I'm one of the investors.
I'm
in
looking
that.
forward to having Naila on the panel on another round. Yeah, and I find Naila really fun, and she's a storyteller, so there you go. And I really liked about it. We would like to see if you have any questions that you'd like to raise, ask Santosh or Rasik or myself, please.
Start questioning the founders, because I know that every project would have a very different timeline to break even. Like in filmmaking, there's a myth that the minute the movie's out, you're going to get all your money back, which, you know, I'm probably a victim of that. It's absolutely a myth. It does take time. It takes like 2 to 3 years, because you start selling, the licenses expire, and then you resell the film, and you can resell a film for 30 years. As a matter of fact, Kama, the collection agency, has a movie that's still making tricklets 28 years later. So it's an ongoing thing. So with movie business is quite different, because with any business, you know, at some point you shut down. And with film, your name is on the credit. if it's a bad film, that's a bad thing. But your name is on the credit forever. Your grandkids will watch it one day, so it's a legacy, right? So it's a very different model. People have invested in for many different motivations, but obviously people want to make money, and I put my money in my film as well. So the question is, at what point or threshold do you have different like timelines for every investment you've done, where you think, okay, it's been too long now, why am I not seeing the returns? And then when do you in your mind think, this is where I know I'm never going to see the money, or I'm going to, pull the yeah.
In fact, the answer lies in your question itself. You have yourself mentioned that different projects have different timelines. So at what time should the investor start questioning or start wondering when the returns would start to arrive will again depend on project to project. So some investment could give you results in 6 months' time. Some investments could give you results in 2 years' time, but then they may be prolonging for a lifelong experience. And for example, your project, I am looking forward that my grandson will still earn some royalty out of that movie. So those are different timelines. So there is, it is not the timeline to results. It is how engaged you keep the investor in the project and keep taking him in confidence and keep him abreast about the progress of the project.
I have two questions actually. So you were mentioning that one of your advice as a founder was to get perspective. So one is like, how do you get perspective? So probably that's about like surrounding yourself well. And if so, like, who do you surround yourself with? And the other question is about the business model. So what are the different income streams that you have around this business?
Glad that you could experience one of our screens and you've seen the passenger operating system in motion. I think perspective for me is very important with regards to how we first conceive a business in its being itself. I have seen a lot of ideas. I meet a lot of founders, some very big dreamers. But we have to also have a sense of realism in regards to what we are aiming to build. I started in the AI Web3 space, completely different vertical, and a lot of founders today question me and they say, in 2016 you were building AI when like nobody even knew AI, and today you are behind taxis. What are you doing with your life? I have a perspective. The passenger economy is a $7 trillion emerging industry. I'm eyeing that. That's my perspective. If this day goes, there will be about 500 million people that will move in a taxi. Call it Uber, Lyft, Ola, Careem, call it whatever service. I call them taxi services. 500 million people are moving and they're not doing anything much with their time inside that cab ride. There is no operating system that is available to them. The control of a vehicle has always been made for the driver. He used to go to the dealership with a check, so all the controls are made for the driver. It doesn't work in this space where the passenger who is paying for the ride expects control. So that perspective was established that, hey, like, we are going after a market big enough, niche enough that we are not competing with the giants. Could we build it into a monopoly, which we have in this, at least in the UAE market, maybe regionally, because the best defensibility that you will build will be a monopoly. I think if those are established very quickly, then you have sort of like a solid plan to go after whatever dream that you're trying to achieve and whatever vision you're trying to fulfill. With regards to our business model, we start, you know how Google makes most of its money? Advertising. So we are also making a lot of money from advertising. But we are also very open to the evolving nature of business. Today, we are talking to governments who want to buy screens from us. We own a deep tech. We have an IP on the product that we made. We never intended to make a deep tech. We were always a software play. But there was no product available for us, so we had to build it from 3D printed prototypes that first we built inside our office to exoskeletons that can withstand like Dubai conditions to an entire hardware piece, which now countries are wanting to purchase from us and pay us a SaaS service fee on a monthly basis. So your revenue models will significantly change as there is more traction. But find out the low-hanging fruit where you can start making money today, and more opportunities will arise. We bring content partners on a tenancy basis. We work with the largest media outlets. They take space on our screens to get their content discovered. We get affiliate fees. We are working with research partners, which are running panels on our screens. We make money from research. So I think the opportunity will arise. I think revenue should be a back thought, not the core thought itself, if that makes sense. It should be a byproduct of a great product that you have made for the user. As long as that is established and there is, and you're from the world of user experience, if you have invested in user experience and you're building a great product, then I think revenue should follow. And it will follow through different paths, just be open to it.
We have a question over there, please.
Actually, I have two questions. How do you protect your product with IP? Secondly, totally different question. What is your exit strategy?
I always say I think a founder should have two very good friends. One of them is an accountant, the other one is a lawyer. In our case, we were very lucky to be selected by a law firm called Cooley, which is the United States' largest venture law firm. We got selected for their startup program. And it's very important to have. I think not just IP, but also investor relations, the entire due diligence process and all of that, because they become your allies and they'll show you how you can protect your IP that you're building. But in early stages, until you reach your Series A, I actually wouldn't recommend founders to invest in a lot of this IP related costs, because a lot of your product will change. What you have made is most probably a duct tape solution that you think could work, and that will take a lot of refinement until you reach your Series A. By the time you have reached your Series A, you are now demonstrating product market fit. You want to now build defensibilities for that product, and you will have the means to cover the cost to protect your product. Founders generally believe that they have a great idea, they will not want to share it with anyone. I think other than a great product, what we are really doing well is executing. An entire ecosystem is coming together with very large entities where binary media is in the nucleus. We are building an ecosystem. It's like the Apple iPhone moment for cars. The iPhone is maybe less value as the value of the apps that sit inside it. So we are at that stage. So we are focusing on the execution aspect. I think the IP will follow with regards to when we are there. And you definitely want to have like good lawyers backing your product as such. Your second part of the question?
Exit strategy.
Exit strategy is. So during the pandemic, I also had very tough decisions to make. I had to let go about 40 people in my office. They looked at me like an elder brother we didn't have like a corporate ladder to offer them. They believed that they are being part of a big change. So they had joined me because of my dream that I had sold to them. Leaving them was, I think, the most difficult time that I have faced as an entrepreneur. Many of them, I'm taking them back into binary ecosystem today. But we never thought about exit back then, and we are not thinking about it today because We are extremely profitable. We are extremely profitable. If you have figured out an engine which is going to make you a lot of money, why would you give it to someone else? If you know that in 5 years, it's going to make you maybe 100x of what the business is making today, why would you sell it at 1 to a company today when you know that the revenue will be so much? So my focus is there. My focus is not really on the exit, but I'm also very aware that there are some very big players who are taking interest. As long as you're building a great product, good things will happen. You know, there will be opportunities. I didn't want to exit my first business, but it just was the right thing to do at that particular point in time. And I think founders will reach that place where they will know that an M&A kind of an opportunity might be an exit strategy for them. But I think they should not build to exit. A lot of founders tend to do that. I differ a little bit on that particular opinion. I build to generate great revenues. And as long as we are doing it at scale, somebody will take interest. And that's a conversation we can have. Like, you know, if you're interested, then there is a number that will definitely be of interest. But yeah, build to grow, not build to exit.
What are some of the characteristics you look for when choosing an investor besides the capital injection? And what are the sort of red flags that made you decide that it's not a fit?
Me? Okay. I think the type of investors that you attract also is determined by the stage your company at. So if you're doing a pre-seed, seed, you're maybe looking at angels that will invest in you. Versus now we are doing our pre-series A, so we are looking at VCs. What we are looking for is networks, actually. What else can they bring in with regards to that particular investment? There have been, there are stories where the founders say that investors have ghosted them. There are many times that I ghost certain investors as well, because I know that there is money that will come in, but that'll be the end all. And there'll be a lot of grief then in that conversation. So he has to add some strategic value that is extremely important for that business at that given point in time. Many of our investors right now are people from the industry who understand our industry well. And in some ways, they act like my co-founders. They are always there. And this is early stage. But even VCs, I think once you reach that pre-series A, series A onwards, you're looking at VCs. They have LPs which have significant experience in your area of startup, and hence they will invest, and then they will open those networks up. Those will be your first customers or key customers or channel partners or whatever. So you want to see how that network effects could help you.
Okay, so we'll take one last question. After this, you will get the opportunity to meet Rasik and Santosh one-on-one. We have another office here at 2307, where we're actually serving tea, coffee, and some finger foods. Please join us there and get to know each other as well. So the last and final question, please.
My question is, how big is your team now? I hear that you started with your like 2 friends, but how big your team now, and what is the basis of your decision to attract new core players in your team?
So we have 7 people who are 70 people strong. A lot of people don't believe how lean we are when we explain that we are such a large network. They will not believe that these are 7 people. But I think this is an advantage, unfair also, maybe an unfair advantage a serial entrepreneur will have. He would have had the experience of working with a certain team for over a period of time. So this team of 7 people have been with me for over a decade. I know that a lot of people also fear with outsourcing as a concept of work. We outsource many topics because we know these outsourcing companies for a very long period of time again. So I work with companies in Philippines, in Ukraine, in the US. It really doesn't matter for us, because we have known them for a very long time. And in early days, the only sort of expense that I would sort of maybe fade away from is recurring expense. If there is any recurring expense, as long as you can afford it, great, but if you can't, then don't go for it. And salaries are one of them. I would pay my employees' salaries before I take any penny. So it's a responsibility that you're bringing on board. Be ready for that responsibility. So yeah, we are a very small team, but we have on disposal teams that can start working for us on any given project that we have worked with them for a very long time.
Just to, during the networking session, please feel free to speak to Rasik and Santosh. Just to conclude and summarize, honestly, and I say it from the bottom of my heart, I did not expect it to be such a fruitful and insightful conversation. The learning I have taken in this last 30 minutes, my BSc for the 3 years, my MBA, could not give me that because they're just textbooks. This is real life. This is a guy who's walked the walk, talked the talk, and got an investor to invest in him who knows about investment, knows the land. To summarize, the questions actually summarize everything. It's very important to have a product. For instance, Santosh had RTA. That makes it easy. Second thing is you've got to create a story. Nowhere did I hear Santosh answer a question. It was story. I tried going into my phone to find out what can I ask them next, Googling it, and he was giving me something else. He was just, questions are popping up. Then to have somebody like Rasik or an investor who's not an investor. I don't call Rasik an investor. If I look at it my way, he's part of you. They're partners. They need to understand you. They need to be in your playbook. More importantly is you need to know your numbers. You need to know the things that matters. Santosh brings that on very, very well. So short, brief, little get-together conversation we have, for me, it has been insightful. I hope it's giving you some fruits as well. We are having another one on 2nd of October. Farouk is the man and Tablon, if you want to get in and you want to be part of this. Investor Pods is not about me. It's not about Farouk. It's about the founder and the investor, about you guys. So we request you, this is our first. There are a lot of teething issues. We're trying to put it together, the seating and the other things. Please put it forward to us. Gather in the other office that we have, the steak office and everything. We'd love to hear your feedback as to on the next one, how we can improve and what do you want to see. From my end, I thank you very much for you coming here, showing up on time, beating me and Farouk to it. Okay, and I'm looking forward to meeting you guys on one-on-one level and doing more of this. So once again, thank you very much. If I can have a big warm hands for Tablon for putting things together. And when I told Farouk that I'm going to have 20 people in here, like, what, in a year? I said, trust me. We were doing building works here till 10 o'clock at night. Me and my team were drilling, putting lights on because he was in your way and everything. So to my team, again, I'm not a Jew in terms of, I don't mind splashing out. But when it comes to my team, I follow the same stuff as Santosh does. You need to maximize yourself. So we have a very small team and we play for 100 people. We do anything and everything that's done is in here. So that's a really nice, good take. So once again, thank you very much for everyone coming. Excuse us any hiccups, mistakes that we've made, and hopefully it's going to get better next time. So thank you, and looking forward to meeting you again. Thank you very much. It's like, for me, it's been amazing.